bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Well, welcome, Fade to Black. How you doing? Yeah. Today's Monday, November 11th, 2024. That's right. It is 11/11. I am your host, Jimmy Church, kicking off another brand new week this week here on Fade to Black. And here's the deal. I'm only doing 2 shows this week on Fade to Black. All right, only 2 shows. Tonight, John Russell is with us. Call the show Writing with Ghosts. I could call it anything with John, but that's tonight. Tomorrow night is an AMA AJA. You can ask me anything. Wednesday and Thursday, we're off air. Wednesday, I am on a plane down to Peru. Now, here is the deal with all of that, okay? Let's be very clear. No shows from Wednesday until December 2nd when we return. That is a Monday. Now, I'm going to be live streaming from South America. Yes, I'm heading down for Peru and Bolivia with Brian Forrester. I'll be back that weekend of December 1st. Coming up after that is the Conscious Life Expo at the LAX Hilton, and that is February 7th through the 10th, 2025. I'm hosting again this year. This is the largest conference in the world. It's ginormous. Come and hang out with us. It's just a crazy, great event. The links are below. After that is Rise of the Guardians, and this is March 29th and 30th, 2025, in Sedona, Arizona. All right. Now, a great list of speakers there. This is going to be a fun event. And also, I'm going to line up a private UFO Skywatch. So if you're going to go to the event, shoot me an email so I can have your name, and I'll get you the secret information on that. All right. And then heading to the Midwest for the Contact Modalities Expo. This is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2025 in Delavan, Wisconsin, on Delavan Lake. Beautiful resorts. We've got some additional speakers that have just been added, and we'll get that out on social media tomorrow. But this is going to be a great event. Adam Apollo, Paula Harris, Scott Walter, Chris Bledsoe, and I've got the hosting duties, so I'll be doing some panels. I'm going to speak too as well and host for the weekend. So heading back to the Midwest for the Contact Modalities Expo in Delavan, Wisconsin. All right. Now, again, this is kicking off a brand new week here on Fade to Black. Only 2 shows, and then I'm going to be live streaming from South America. All right. So let's get straight to it. I'm going to say this just once on the show. I'm always modifying the studio, and I've done a bunch of stuff here over the last couple of weeks. So one of them is now I can face the camera, which is up here. You're watching me look straight into the camera as opposed to looking at the monitor down here. Now I can look up here. So anyway, that's some brand new technology. That's really, really cool. So got that. And then next, because of the modifications that I've done, I am going to do the show starting tonight with a new side camera, which is here. Not this one that's over here, but one that's here, and which will allow me to look at the guest this way. You're going to watch me look at the guest instead of watching me look at the guest and then have the camera that's up here looking at the wrong eye line. It always messed with me. I didn't dig it. So we've got all of that going on. And so tonight with John Russell is the first night that I've got all this technology running at the same time. It's pretty cool. And I'll let everybody know I've got foot switches down here so I can control everything with my feet. Yeah. I'm kind of like Geddy Lee when he would play his bass pedals, play the bass at the same time, right? Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Remember that? Bunch of pedals on the stage. So yeah, that's my new thing here right now. Hopefully you won't hear them click. That's the other thing. So I decided, I got to share this with you. I am wearing one shoe on this foot. This foot has a sock on. I took my shoe off. Why? So I can feel the pedals with my sock. It was weird, man, over the weekend, and I'm testing everything. And I was like, man, I can't really feel the pedals, and I've got like 6. And no, I took off my shoe. I'm serious, man. I would show you, but there's no sense in you'll have to trust me on this one. So yeah, I'm wearing one shoe. I've got a sock so I can feel it's like Braille. It's like Braille. Yeah. It's pretty cool. All right. So tonight, John Russell is with us. We're going to be diving into his diverse and intriguing paranormal experiences that he's had. Not only the encounters in the the supernatural realm, but all of his books, which I have here. We'll be talking, obviously, Writing with Ghost. I've got that. I've got Knock in the Attic. I've got that. And the one I'm reading right now, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. The links for John are below. We're going to get to all of that. Now, his book, Writing with Ghosts, that's right. He's a writer. He's been on the show before. You guys know that he rides. And we will try to avoid talking too much motorcycles tonight, but it's hard to do. When you get a couple of people who ride, that's all they want to talk about. And I used to roll my eyes to all of that, going, oh, man, really? This is what we're going to do? But that's it. He's been a professional psychic for over 50 years. He's internationally known, maintaining a worldwide clientele that he has provided psychic readings to, and you can go to his website for all of that. He's been a paranormal researcher for over 50 years. He's got a lot of haunted objects in his house. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his 2 haunted cameras, what's going on with that. We're going to talk some UFOs because he is an experiencer. All of that and much more tonight. John Russell is here, and I'm going to bring him straight in and go, good evening, John. How you doing?
Good evening, Jimmy. It is so great to be back with you. We always have such a good conversation. I'm looking forward to tonight. Hope all the listeners enjoy it. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And now you live in Florida, and you just went through. Are you okay with the hurricanes and the flooding and all of that?
Where we're at, we dodged several major bullets and came out okay, came out unscathed. We're good. We're all right. But of course, a lot of people here didn't. And of course, a lot of people in North Carolina are still digging out and still trying to recover. So all those people still need prayers, still need help. It's an ongoing process still.
Out here, we've had a fire burning, and out in Camarillo, and tragedy. I mean, almost 200 houses were lost.
Yeah.
And so while that fire was going on Saturday, I had to drive to a friend of mine's shop in Sherman Oaks. I got a couple of tattoos, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I saw those. Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, so I drive out, get the tattoos done, and I'm listening to the news and listening to the latest updates, on the fire.
Right.
And it's chilled down. The winds died down, and they're starting to get a grip on things. Thank goodness, right? Okay. So anyway, I'm pulling into Palmdale, John, listening to the news of the fire, and then I see all of these fire trucks on the other side of the freeway in front of me, and it was a lot, right? And all the traffic is stopped. I thought, man, that's a pretty big car accident. And I pull, it's a fire next to the freeway, and I drive past it. And this is one exit from my house.
Oh man!
And I see it, and I was like, oh man. And so I make the exit. I get home, and it just took the whole. Here I got these tattoos. I'm feeling pretty good, and now total distraction. Right?
Yeah.
Just total. And all night long, I listened to the helicopters, and which I heard them in the morning too when I got up. Went outside, couldn't see anything. It was close. It was about 2 miles maybe from my home. Yeah,
too close. Too close. Yeah, way too close.
It was shocking to me to see that. But anyway, so here we go. We're heading in. We just got out of Halloween, and we're heading in to the holiday season.
Yeah.
And I leave town this week.
Right.
And one of the things that I look forward to when I go to another country is the historical sites. But there's another part to that though for me. There's a deep sense of spirituality and vibration there. And now, but that's all over the United States. It's all over the world, right?
It's all over the world. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What makes a site noticeable? You know what I mean? When you feel it in your bones, right? Where you walk in. I don't know if it's foreboding. Some of it is, right? So I was like, oh, should we turn around? A cemetery at midnight's never a good idea. But
I love it. I love it. I love going to cemeteries at midnight. That's great. No, but I know what you're saying. And, like I've always said, every place is haunted because look, the world is how many millions of years old. So various places have been occupied or people have died there, people have lived there, whatever. So every place on the planet is haunted. You've got nature spirits, guardian angels, other sentient beings and intelligences. But there are certain locations where people gather and focus their intent, their energy, their spirituality, and it kind of absorbs that and it grows and it holds that. So when you go to those places, you're experiencing the energy from everyone that has participated there, that has focused their energies there. And usually those places have a large number of people that come together and focus their energy and expend that energy and build that energy up there. So those places kind of act as a battery, if you will, kind of a reservoir for all that energy. And then when you go there, wittingly or unwittingly, you add to that energy by being there and you reciprocate that energy. You exchange that energy. There's an interchange there when you go to those sites. So those places tend to attract more attention, tend to have more noticeable energy than someplace else that might have a more subtle energy.
Why do I think it's just a bad idea? A cemetery at midnight.
Because we've been taught to fear that. We've been taught that some bugaboo is going to get us or something negative or whatever is going to happen. And, there's no, it's not any worse to go to a cemetery at midnight than it is at 3 p.m. I mean, there's still the same energies there if you're sensitive to that. I think we get preconditioned to ideas that, don't go to the cemetery at midnight, don't go to this place, don't go to that place, whatever. And we get preconditioned to that by the way we've been raised. It's usually a knee-jerk fear reaction, either from our religion or from superstition or from something that we've been told that really has no merit. And, that's what I try and do in my psychic work and my readings. my counseling with people. And in my books, I try and get people to understand, look, we believe a lot of the wrong things. We've been taught a lot of the wrong things, and we're steered toward a lot of the wrong things. And that's what I try and correct with my books and with my clients where I read for them and counsel with them. And it's worked because people constantly give me feedback and say, you've taken the fear away from me with this. You've taken the fear away, and you've made me understand that the other side is nothing to fear and nothing to be afraid of, and that I can interact with it in a beneficial and a positive way, in a helpful way. And so that's been my main mission through all of this.
I'm not sure if that's always the case, though. And what I mean is this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If you are freaked out about
Mm-hmm.
going into a cemetery at midnight and you're scared and you do it anyway, you're manifesting something to happen.
You're manifesting your own fear. Yeah. You're manifesting your own fear. And it's, if you have a negative expectation of something, you've already set yourself up for a negative experience.
That's right.
Regardless of what it is. So that's why I try and tell people, it's like people approach the Ouija board and it's like, oh my God. And it's like, look, you have set yourself up for a negative expectation of the Ouija board because of all the bad press it's gotten, wrongfully so. And I said, think about something. You'll sit down, you'll go to a psychic for a reading, you'll buy a deck of tarot cards and use them, you'll use dowsing rods, you'll use a crystal ball, you'll use a pendulum, but oh my God, the Ouija board, it's the same motive energy. You're using the exact same motive energy to connect with the other side, regardless of what tool that you use. But you've set yourself up for this negative experience by believing all the hoopla that surrounds this thing. And so, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
True, except, and I know I'm not wrong here, most people, when they see somebody with dowsing rods
Mm-hmm.
asking questions,
Mm-hmm.
laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
They don't laugh when somebody's messing around with the Ouija board.
Right.
And
Right.
they don't laugh when somebody's shuffling a tarot deck.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if
Right.
somebody's got a pendulum, okay, yes or no, people go, come on.
Yeah.
You don't see Gandalf with dowsing rods. you understand what I'm saying, right?
I do. Yeah. It's, it all has to go with the perception that we have. And again, that goes back to the way we've been taught, the superstitions that we believe or whatever. So we intrinsically believe that certain things are more evil or more dangerous or more whatever, more risky. And they're not. Like I say, it's all the same motive energy. And that's what we have to understand is, when we're live here tonight on the podcast, or if I plug a radio into the wall, or I send a message on Facebook with my computer, whatever we're doing, we're plugged into one electricity. That's all there is. We're plugged into one outlet. To connect with you, my computer's plugged into one source.
Mm-hmm.
And to send messages or do this or do that or search the internet, it's one source, it's one energy. That's all there is. And so it's the same way with the other side. We have to realize there's one motive energy for all of this connection, for all of these experiences. And it's how we approach it that determines the results that we get. And if we go in fearful, or if we go in negative, or if we go in a rude manner, then we can have some negative experiences. We can have that negative feedback. I always tell people, you wouldn't find Mike Tyson's house and go up and knock on his door and yell and say, you blankety blank, come out here and face me. I ain't scared of you, you blankety blank. You'd be picking your teeth up from off the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So likewise, when you go into a spiritual experience of any type, go in with respect, go in with positivity, and then you'll have a good experience. If something frightens you, if something scares you, and it's like I say in my book, 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities, I have a whole chapter on the Ouija board and how to use it. And I tell people in there, look, if this scares you, skip it. Do something else. Because if you're frightened of it, you're automatically going to have a bad experience. So skip it and do something else.
I have a really bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just letting it all hang out, John. It's because of you. Look, John, drinking scotch live on the show.
Bourbon.
Yeah, bourbon. So this is the truth. When I go into my bedroom at night,
yeah,
right,
got to turn the light on.
Well, of course, but it's before I turn the light on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking into a dark room.
Yeah.
And I look all the way on the other side of the bedroom into the corner where it's darkest.
Mm-hmm.
And my fear is that I'm going to turn on that light and there's going to be some big black wings, a hood, a sight, and that's, red eyes.
Yeah.
And that's my fear.
But guess what? That fear has never come true. That fear has never happened.
But that I'm manifesting it.
Exactly.
That's my point. One of these days, and so I turn on the light. Everything's cool. Yep. So what I do, I turn on the main light. Then I go over and I turn on the lamp on my nightstand, and then I go turn off the main light. Right, the room is lit up.
Right.
And then I turn around and do my bathroom, whatever. And but I always say out loud, one day it's going to happen, bro. It's going to happen.
But it won't. And it reminds me when I used to do a lot of psychic fairs when I was young, large psychic fairs. And I had my table set up and I used tarot cards there and I had my tarot cards spread out. And I was waiting for the next person to come and get a reading. And this lady walked by my table and she looked at my tarot cards and she went, "Oh, tarot cards. Oh." And she almost ran away. And I said, hey, come here, come back over here, come here. So she walked back over and I said, "What was this deal? Ooh, tarot card. What was that all about?" She said, "Oh God." She said, "A long time ago, me and my husband went to this. She's supposed to be like this old gypsy woman or something. And she used the tarot cards and she saw all these horrible things and she made all these horrible predictions about what was going to happen in our future and everything. And I said, "Wait a minute, stop. I said, "Did any of those things that she supposedly saw or predicted, any of them, did anything ever happen? Did anything ever come true?" And she thought a minute and she went, "No." It's like all these years you've lived in fear with this thing over something that never happened, never came to pass. And she got it. And it was like, oh, wow.
Well, it's how you read the cards. I've seen some tarot readers that are they interpret correctly and they read them correctly. And it's really, really fun. Yeah. Now, if it was here's the thing. What if it was a Hello Kitty deck of tarot cards?
Right.
Same cards, but Hello Kitty or the Simpsons.
Friendlier.
yeah. Charlie Brown. Are they still as dark? It's not that. It's how what is flipped, what is turned, and how it's interpreted.
Well, that's it. And as you become a skilled reader, you learn that the book interpretation doesn't always apply. And you learn that a card that most people associate with being negative might be a positive card and not a negative card. And it's all context. It's all content. I remember when I was had started reading professionally when I was 18, and people would drive a couple of 100 miles to get a reading with me. And these two ladies that came in they'd driven about 200 miles to get an in-person reading with me. And we sat down. The first card that came up was the death card. And they went, "Oh." And I was like, no, don't panic. Don't get excited. And I told them that in this case, the death card represented something that was a passing, that was a change, a passing away of old things, new things coming in their life. Didn't have anything to do with a literal death. And the reason they had that reaction when it came up was one of the things that they had come to get the reading and find out, their mother was sick. And they wanted to know if she was going to be okay. And they're the first thing that comes up is the death card. And they took that as a literal meaning, which in this case, it wasn't. I told them, no, your mother's going to be fine. She was. And so, a lot of it has to do with experience. A lot of it has to do with context. And that's why I hate when people go and buy a tarot deck and buy a book on the tarot and read it and do a few readings and go, okay, now I'm a tarot reader. No, you're not. I have done this my entire life. Rigorously studying, refining, practicing, studying more. I still study to this day. I've been reading professionally for over 50 years. I still work at trying to get better. Nobody ever masters anything. So it takes a long time. You have to learn the nuances. You have to learn the context. You have to allow for spirit to communicate with you directly and tell you, yeah, this card says this and usually means this. But in this case, it's something entirely different. And I remember
I was in. Let me jump in. This is really funny. This is over 30 years ago because my daughter is 30.
Mm-hmm.
So this is over 30 years ago, and I'm sitting with my then wife, Kathy, and we're in Beverly Hills. We're at a restaurant, and in a booth, sitting in a booth.
Right.
And then it's hard to explain, but the restaurant had two sections. I know the owner. So I said, dude, just put us in the closed section over there and away from everybody. Yeah. So he said, anyway, so we're in this closed section by ourselves in this big booth. Everything's fine. This guy walks in. He's in a suit, older guy, probably 65, 70. Older than me at the time. I was 30, right?
Right.
But he comes in distinguished looking, tie, suit, and he comes in and he sits down in our booth.
Oh, wow.
I thought he worked at the restaurant, right?
Right.
He's the manager or something. And he had these insane bright blue eyes. Insane. And he was, he was tall. Anyway, he goes, okay, I had to sit down because I was looking at you guys. I'm a gypsy and I see things. All right. Okay. What's up? And he starts going on and on. And then he says these words. The two of you are married, but you'll never have children. And I said, okay, you got to go. And I looked over at my friend who owns, I said, out. And the guy gets up, and they walk him out, and my friend apologizes. And my wife was 8 months pregnant. But he didn't see that. He's sitting at the table, 8 months pregnant, and he wants to look at us and say that we're not going to have children.
Right.
And then, of course, a month later, but it was just hilarious. How somebody wants to BS their way through something like that. But some people will just say, what if my wife wasn't pregnant? Right.
Exactly.
You take it a bit. It was just so funny how quickly that ship sank.
Exactly right. There's
stay
a lot
right there.
of
Hold on
out
for a
there.
second.
There's a lot of ponies out there. There's a lot of frauds. There's a lot of fakes. There's a lot of wannabes. And again, I started reading when I was about 15 years old and started reading professionally at 18. I started doing paranormal investigations, paranormal research at age 11. And I've made it my life's mission to find out what works, what doesn't, and there's a lot that doesn't, and to get rid of what doesn't work and to hold on to what does work. And again, to guide people into a rational and a comfortable interaction with the other side that's beneficial to them. And so that you don't fall prey to the guy that's like, you'll never have kids, and she's 8 months pregnant, and so on and so forth. Because there's a lot of those jerks out there. and you have to learn how to avoid that. There's a lot of things we've been taught that just aren't true, and you have to unlearn that and get to the point that you eschew personalities, and you eschew religion, and you eschew theory, and you eschew this, and you get down to, okay, what really works? What produces something meaningful in my life? And what separates me with my experiences, the books that I've written, the things that I've done, I've learned over the years that people write books about theories and they've never experienced anything. And people talk about things that other people talk about and put their spin on it, and they've never experienced anything. In every one of my books that I've written, these are experiences, and I've had thousands of them by now. These are experiences that I've actually experienced on the physical realm, from the supernatural realm to the physical realm. And other people have witnessed these things. We've caught them on audio, we've caught them on video, we've caught them on photographs. Other people have seen them with their own eyes. And these are things that have literally physically occurred on the physical realm, which gives you an indication, okay, there's something from the other side, from this invisible realm, interacting with our physical realm in a meaningful way, a discernible way. And then what I've learned from those things is I didn't just experience it. I was like, who's doing this? Why are you doing this? What can I learn from this? And then after I've done that, what then can I teach other people so that they can take these things, apply them to their lives, and they can grow spiritually, and they can learn these things, manifest these things for themselves. And so that's my whole life's goal, and that's my whole life experience, and that's what differentiates my experiences and what I do and what I write about from other people, is these are things I have experienced firsthand in my life.
Well, you've got 2 haunted cameras.
I do.
Allegedly.
I do have
Well,
cameras.
those are experiences that you have to
Yeah.
figure out on your own. How did you find out about the first haunted camera?
Oh, that was, well, back when I was young, and we used to hold a lot of circles, seances at my house when I was growing up. And back when I was young, I had got my very first 35 millimeter film camera, and loved doing photography. I became professional and sold my photography down the road and so on and so forth. But I was just starting out in photography then, had my first 35 millimeter film camera. So we were doing a circle that night, and this female spirit made herself evident. And we all agreed that we could see her, we could sense her. We agreed on what she looked like, her manner of dress, and everything else. She was that strong, that present. So I had my camera, and I was wanting to do some spirit photography. And so I said, I'm going to see if I can get a picture of her. And everybody said, John, don't. She doesn't want her picture taken. And I was like, she's not going to care. I said, look, I want to take your picture. Let me take your picture. And they're like, John, she doesn't want her picture taken. I'm like, I'm going to take the picture. So I take this picture. Now, this is a brand new camera, functions perfectly. I take the picture, and I go to advance the film to take another picture. And the film advance lever works. And the film indicator window shows that a frame has advanced in the camera, but I can feel that the film has not advanced. And I'm like, well, this is really weird. So I take another photo, I advance the film lever again. Everything works properly, except I can tell the film is not advancing in the camera, which is physically impossible. So I said, okay, hang on a minute. I go into another room in the house where it's really dark. I open the back of the camera and I look, and sure enough, the film has not advanced. It's on the sprockets. It's on the take-up reel. Everything's perfect, except the film is not advanced. In spite of the film advance lever working, the shutter button working, the indicator showing that the film's advancing, but it has not advanced. I'm like, oh, wow, this is physically impossible. So I close the camera back. I come back out and I say, okay, ma'am, I'm sorry. I apologize for trying to take your picture when you didn't want a picture taken. I apologize. My error, my mistake. Forgive me. And everybody said, try the camera now and it'll work. And I did. And you could feel the film advance. You could hear it on the take-up sprocket through the camera, and it began to work. So after that, when I would take pictures with the camera, get the film developed, the prints would come back. Some of them would be whited out. Some of them would be black. Some of them would be double exposed when I hadn't done a double exposure. Some of them would have weird streaks through them, weird colors, weird lights in the prints. And then after that, the camera began to ooze oil from inside. I mean, like if I set the camera down on the table and then went and picked it up, there would be a puddle of oil there. And it continued to ooze this oil to the point that it became apparent on the outside of the camera. I would wipe it down with paper towels or a cloth, open it up, clean, dry all the oil out, and then it would ooze this oil again. And after that, of course, it was useless to take photographs with at that point. And after that, the film indicator went over and shows you the film count that you're on, the number that you're on. That rotated out of sight all by itself and just disappeared. And then the film advance lever froze up, wouldn't work, and then the shutter button just froze up, so the camera became a brick. So
is there oil in a camera?
No. And so this spirit really did not want me taking her picture with this camera. And she absolutely bricked that camera, absolutely froze it up, just absolutely destroyed it. So that was a great spiritual experience, a great spiritual lesson. And then the second haunted camera I've got, and if you look behind me on the shelf behind me, you can see this little blurred blue and yellow and red over there. That's the other haunted camera, and it's a toy camera. It's the same size as a regular camera, 35 millimeter camera, but it's a toy camera. It's made out of plastic. And my wife and I were in this retail store one day. They had this toy section, and I saw this camera. And I was like, oh, God, look at this. Of course, my wife's rolling her eyes. And I went, look. And you press the shutter button down, and it makes a little clicky noise. And you do the film advance lever, and it plays a song, right? And on the front of the camera, there's a little red LED and a little green LED. And they blink back and forth when you press the shutter button and all this stuff. I said, oh, my God, this is the greatest thing. I've got to have this. And she said, you're an idiot. It's a toy. Grow up. And I said, no, I've got to have this.
It takes pictures. It takes film?
No.
Oh, it's just a toy camera.
Just a toy.
Oh, man, that thing's friggin' haunted. What do you take that thing out of the house?
No.
What are you doing? Oh, man.
She said, yeah, this is ridiculous. You're a grown man. You can't have this. I said, I've got to have it. It's great. So we bring the camera home, and my bedroom at the time was adjacent my office rather was adjacent to our bedroom in the house we were in. And I would sometimes put the camera in our bedroom, sometimes in my office. So the camera would start going off totally, completely by itself. And it would just like over and over, like click, 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 the shutter noise just over and over and over. And so we began to understand that when there was some change coming in our life, minor or major change, the camera would notify us that this change was coming. And we would begin to start discerning and predicting these changes that were coming. And the more frequently and the louder and the more frequently the camera went off, the more significant the change that was coming. So this went on forever and a day. And it got to the point with the camera that in the flash area where you would have a pop-up flash on a normal 35 millimeter, where the little red and the green LED were, it got to the point where the camera would flash a bright white light out of that section, which is physically impossible because there's nothing there, just like a flash would go off in a camera. So all these things went on for a number of times. I would be on radio interviews, and it would go off in the background. And
that's haunted. That's haunted.
Yeah.
When my daughter Nicole, I'm going to say she was 3. So this is like 98. She was born in 95, 98. Furbies were the thing, right?
We had a Furby.
Dude, the Antichrist. So, and that Christmas, that was the tough toy to find, right? Everybody sold out, right? So I get her a Furby. She's all excited, and it was Santa. It wasn't me. And but anyway, so she gets her Furby, and her mother and I had divorced by that time. I was living by myself. They lived a block away from me, and so she was over on the weekends, Nicole, and she's with that Furby now. So the Furby stayed at my house. Okay, Nicole had her own room, you know, stuff full of toys, and with that friggin' Furby. So anyway, I would be in the house. Nicole's she's not there, and I would hear that Furby start talking in her bedroom. Yeah. And I go in and I'm trying to turn it off, and I think it's off, and I'm not sure, and I'm reading the instructions. It's not doing anything, you know. And then and I put the Furby down, walk out. Hello, dude, what? And so and that thing would start talking all by itself all the time. And I didn't dig it. And I don't know what it was hearing or why it was waking up or whatever. Anyway, after about 2 or 3 months of that, and I was freaked out. I mean, that thing spoke right when everything was like really quiet and strange. And then right. So I put her in her backpack, in Nicole's backpack. Oh, okay. I said, no, Furby wants to go home with you. Furby needs to go home with you. Yeah, okay, all right. And she was all happy about that. I had to get that thing out of my house, man. I'm serious. Yeah. I tell you, when Nicole left,
understand is that spirits will use objects to communicate to us.
For sure.
Yeah. And so we have to understand that. And so, we're surrounded constantly by spirits wherever we're all at right now. You have spirits around you constantly. And when they want to communicate, they will choose the thing that they can communicate through and utilize that for communication with you.
I remember when I took Nicole back to her mom's house, and that Furby was in the backpack, and I watch her go into her mom's place and the door closed, and I knew the Furby now was officially in there. I was like, woo! Oh man, it was. How? I think that we can all agree that haunted objects are not only possible, but we've got a lot of evidence of that over the years.
Absolutely. We have a ton of evidence of that. And a lot of people have experienced haunted objects, and that just, reinforces what I said, that spirits will use whatever channel of communication they can. Maybe one spirit closes the door in your house to let you know it's there. Maybe one sets off the Furby. Maybe one sets off the haunted camera. And I think that different spirits have different facilities of communication. So they're going to use what they can use to get through to you and let you know that they're there.
Can they, okay, so you have the haunted object,
right?
The haunted doll, and you give it to somebody. Does it stay haunted?
Yeah, it can. Also, the spirit that is residing within that or attached to that can decide, no, I'm going to stay with you. So it's kind of a case-by-case situation. We had a haunted doll. We had we were watching some documentary on TV, and they had these haunted dolls. And my wife and I looked at each other and said, oh God, we got to get a haunted doll. So we looked on eBay, and there was this whole selection of haunted dolls. So we picked this one that would make sounds by itself and do all these things by itself. Its eyes would pop open, so on and so forth. And it was a large doll. It was like almost 3 feet tall. So we bought the doll and communicated with the lady that sent it to us. And we welcomed it into our home. We would talk to it and play music for it and all those kinds of things. And it would react on its own. It would act on its own. Like sometimes its eyes would pop open by itself and all this type of thing. So I enjoyed it. I had it in my office and everything. And I'd had it, I don't know, we had it for probably several months. And then I went to sleep one night, and I had this lucid dream, and the doll came to me in the dream. And she said, "You have been so kind to me and so sweet to me and have treated me so well and with so much respect, and you've helped me." And she said, "It's time for me to move on now. So I'm going on now, but I just wanted to come to you and wanted to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate that and how much I love what you've done for me. But I'm going now, and you've enabled me to go where I need to go. And I thank you for that." And then in the dream, she burst into this column of flame and just flew up into the air and disappeared. And I woke up the next day and I was like, wow, that's weird. So I went in my office where the doll was. Sure enough, there was absolutely no energy coming from the doll. The spirit had gone, the spirit had vanished. And what was really wild was that very same morning, I had an email from the woman that had sold me the doll and said, "Are you guys okay? I had a dream last night that the doll burst into flames and burned up. And I just wanted to make sure you were okay in your house and nothing had happened." Now, isn't that wild?
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. The other day, what's today? Monday? Okay, I think this was like
Monday,
Friday.
yeah.
Friday night. And it's late at night. It's like midnight, 1 a.m, and I'm channel surfing, planning on sleeping here real soon.
Right.
And I don't want to say the name of the series. I don't want to do that.
Right.
But it said in the description, an anthology series based on the stories from Creepypasta. Now, I'm a big Creepypasta guy, or I used to be. I haven't been back there in probably 10 years, but I spent a few years listening to Creepypasta. Some of it was really, 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 really good. Very interesting stuff. and fun to go. Anyway, so I'm watching this TV series, and the first episode. And I'm home alone. It's dark. I'm in a dark room. It's 12 midnight. All right. And I get like 15 minutes into it. And I went, nope. Nope. I need to change what's in my head immediately. And I mean, like now. I think I started watching like The Life Aquatic or something. Right.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm going to watch Jacques Cousteau. Yeah. And because it sets me up for that dream. Right. I don't need some vivid, lucid, haunted doll dream.
Right. Yeah.
No.
And see, that's where I'm comfortable because I've spent my life that way. And I always tell people I can go into psychic neighborhoods, if you will, that would terrify them that I'm perfectly comfortable in at home in, because I know there's nothing malevolent there that's going to harm me or going to hurt me. It may scare the bejesus out of somebody else, but that's kind of because of what you've been talking about. You set yourself up for it. You set yourself up for that context, and it's really not that way.
Why do we want it?
We want to be scared. We want to be scared. We want to be frightened. And I think one of the things is, and this is pretty weird because what's been coming to me lately, and this is really strange. I write these nonfiction books on the paranormal, and I write them in a very entertaining and very positive way. And out of the blue, and I'll tell this to everybody in advance so they'll know it's coming down the road. Out of the blue, one day, well, let me backtrack here a little bit. J.K. Rowling, I believe she said she was sitting on the train about to go somewhere, and Harry Potter dropped in her mind, fully formed, beginning to end. She was like, oh, wow, all I had to do was write the story. And I thought, boy, that must be neat. So I'm sitting there one day, and this morbid serial killer, a really different kind of serial killer, drops into my mind fully formed. I know his family. I know his history. I know where he's from. I know what he does. I know why he likes it and all this. So I start writing this serial killer story. So I'm writing this thing. And then last night, and I told my wife, I said, my God, I can't believe this. I said, last night I have this lucid dream. And in this lucid dream, here comes another set of serial killers, this duo. And I see the whole novel from the beginning to the end as they acted out in my dream. I'm like, holy cow, this is weird as hell. So and in studying why we like serial killers, why we like to watch crime shows on TV, why we like horror, why we like crime fiction, I think part of it is we like to be titillated, we like to be scared, we like to go on the roller coaster. And we know we're not going to die, we know we're not going to get hurt, but boy, it gives us a thrill, it gives us a kick. We like to twist the throttle up and go 100 miles an hour on the motorcycle. So we like that thrill, we like that excitement. But also, what I think, having studied this for a long time and having now started writing these serial killer novels, is I think we have this hope that, okay, we're going to face this scary thing and somebody's going to defeat it. Somebody's going to conquer it. Somebody's going to stop it. And I think that's our hope in this, is that we watch horror movies and we hope, okay, you know, this thing on the screen represents some of my fears, some of my angst, some of my worries, and I can see it, I can objectify it, and there it is. And look, here comes somebody that's going to slay the monster, or going to stop the creature, or going to send the ghost away, or whatever. And I think we look for this victory, this ersatz victory, when we experience those type of things. So that's one of the theories that I've come up with, is as to why we like this. We're looking for that victory over the things that we fear.
Well, and then, but then you find out that something crazy is true.
Yeah.
There's a movie out right now. It's on Netflix. It's called Woman of the Hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen it yet, but you should check it out. Okay. It's about the TV show, The Dating Game, and the serial killer, Rodney Alcala.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I watched the movie and I thought to myself, I think I remember hearing about this or reading about this when I was a kid, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Supermarket tabloids or whatever it was, right? I had heard this story. And so I watched the movie, and then I turn around, and you always want this guy to, somebody like that, to be caught.
Exactly.
All right. So that's why we, the podcast or whatever, the true crime stuff, which I'm a big fan of. I like that kind of stuff. So I watched the movie. He gets caught in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I go and I look him up. I'm like, man, and this guy was prolific.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and we know about Ted Bundy, or we know, but who's this Rodney Alcala guy?
Right.
And how did he get himself out? So then also released at the same time as this movie, which came out a couple of weeks ago. It's brand new. Is 3-part documentary series about him. So I watched that. Now it turns out the movie, which watch it because it's crazy, it's insane.
Right.
And the basic stuff around the TV show and the stuff that actually happened. The encounter, I don't want to give anything away. So anyway, then I go and watch a 3-part documentary. That guy, when he was on The Dating Game, was a suspect in 5 murders, right?
Yeah.
With his name.
Yeah.
He uses that name and goes on The Dating Game.
Yeah.
Now, how courageous do you have to be? How nuts do you have to be? Right. So I'm watching the documentary, and this guy killed until he got caught.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I don't want to give away the movie. Everybody should watch the movie.
Right.
But that's a situation for me where you get this confirmation.
Right.
it's a story that you're disconnected from. It's a movie. It's just a movie. It's a disconnected thing. It's based on a true story. Oh yeah, sure it is. Okay, all right. And then you find out the truth.
That it is.
You jump on the internet and you're watching this stuff and you're reading about him and the things and you watch in the documentary, his court case didn't resolve until 2011. Guy was killing in 1966, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, right? And he represented himself in court, and you're watching the real, you know what I mean? That's where you step back and you just take a deep breath, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Sometimes this stuff is actually real.
Exactly right.
It's not an embellishment. In fact, the movie toned it way down compared to the real situation.
And so I think that's why that's why we look at this and hope that somewhere the knight in shining armor is coming along and stopping this, catching the bad guy, killing the bad guy, slaying the monster, whatever. And I think that's part of our fascination with that. I think that's why we have that attraction, is that either consciously or subconsciously, we recognize that there is that evil in the world, and we're looking for somebody to provide us with a way to overcome that.
The ability to go down a rabbit hole and look at a conspiracy is fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I do it for sport.
Yeah.
And
occasionally you find out those conspiracies are true.
That's where you need to prepare yourself, right?
Yep.
Okay, because you don't want to go schizophrenic. You don't want to go full on psychosis. You don't want to. Right. You don't want to trip out.
Exactly.
We're all of us, John. All of us are just one step away from Banana Town. Going nuts.
And that's why I tell people in my book, it's like, look, if something freaks you out, don't do it. Find something that doesn't freak you out and practice that. We do have to know ourselves. And, the reason I can do what I do in any situation that I do is I grew up with this. I experienced this. I've had thousands of these manifestations. They've been overwhelmingly positive. They have literally saved my life. And so I am comfortable walking into situations that other people would scream and run from, and to me, that's home. That's normal. That's natural.
When there was, there are conspiracies, the idea, conspiracy theory and so forth, it is now morphed into its own definition and its own word.
Right.
Anything can be a conspiracy. Right.
Correct.
And it doesn't matter. It's Velveeta cheese. Man, there's a conspiracy about that. Okay. So
exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah. But the definition of a conspiracy is two or more people committing a crime.
Right.
That's a conspiracy. Hang on.
Right.
So, but now it's UFOs or this or that or whatever. Everything's a conspiracy.
Right.
So, but then when you find out one conspiracy, and there's a lot, that turns out to be true and based on fact, then it's like, well, then what about all this other stuff here? Wait a minute. We were told we were crazy.
Yeah.
And so an example of that, Operation Northwoods.
Yep.
Operation Northwoods is the craziest thing ever. And for those of you that don't know, Operation Northwoods was the security around then President Johnson at the White House. And this rolled in, this is after Kennedy, in between Kennedy and Nixon, but it hung around when Nixon was there, right? So the chiefs of staff, they're all sitting around, and the Joint Chiefs, and they're trying to figure out a way to take out Cuba.
Right.
And so somebody lays out this plan to shoot down an American commercial jetliner full of passengers
Yeah.
and blame it on Cuba so we
False.
could invade. Right?
False flag operation.
False flag operation. Actually kill Americans.
Now,
right?
this is documented.
Documented, signed off. They
Yes.
Johnson just never all the guys at the table went, yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Let's go. This is
used to go after Cuba. Yeah.
That's a great idea. This is gonna work.
This is documented. This is documented fact that
I've read, man. And so you see now, if I didn't tell them it was Operation Northwoods and I just came up with this, people would laugh at me. Nobody would ever do that.
They'd say you're nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would do that? Who would do that? Yeah.
And it was that close. They almost did it a few times. They had the plan. They had it written up. It was all just like, okay, maybe we'll do this next week. Okay, we'll hold off for a month. Let's hold off for a little bit. We got something else going on. Otherwise, that would have happened.
Exactly right. And so we have to transliterate that into the UFO realm and into all these other realms. And we have to understand that, yes, conspiracies are possible. Yes, secrets are possible. Yes, you can keep things hidden. And I have a dear buddy of mine. I write about him in my second book, A Knock in the Attic. And I stayed with him for a while when I sold my house back in Texas before I moved up to New York to be with my wife. And he had been involved. He had worked for the NSA. He had top secret security clearances. And there were things that he would not discuss with me, would not reveal to me, and would come right up on the edge of some things and go, whoop, I've said too much, forget that, forget I ever said it. But the point of it is, yes, it's absolutely possible to keep secrets. It's absolutely possible to closet things away that nobody can find out and nobody can discover. Absolutely. It's easy to do that. People say, well, our government could keep such things secret. Oh, yeah, they can. And there are
do it all the time.
They do it all the time. And there are people that take their security oaths so secret, so sincerely that they keep those secrets, take them to their grave. My friend was one of them.
Well, everybody loves being in a group.
Yes. Okay? We're tribal.
Sewing circle.
Yes.
Legos, whatever your thing is, me, it's Harleys, motorcycles, my guitar buddies, and my, you know what I mean? Okay. So, everybody likes to be in a group. Okay.
Exactly.
Let me tell you something. It sucks when the group kicks you out.
Yeah.
You don't want to, you don't want, what do you mean you guys had a party this weekend and I wasn't invited?
Exactly.
That's a horrible feeling, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now take it to another level. You are part of the UFO circle.
Right.
Or whatever, some crazy sick government. You don't ever want to get kicked out of that car. You will do everything to stay in that car. In the back seat with the doors locked.
Yep.
Right? Take the door handle off.
Exactly right.
You don't want to get kicked out of that car ever.
Right.
And so before the Manhattan Project, do you want a better example of keeping secrets where we had what 200,000 people in the United States working on that project, 200,000 and not one person talked?
Yep.
Well, one kind of did. Two others kind of did. They all ended up dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but is it possible? Yeah, of course it is.
Of course.
We didn't know about the stealth fighter.
Yep.
Until it was dropping bombs.
Well, wait a minute. The SR-71 Blackbird, they told us that they had retired the Blackbird and it wasn't flying any longer. And I remember I came home for lunch one day, went out in this beautiful blue skies, clear blue skies, beautiful weather. And I heard this weird double sonic boom. And I looked up, and there's the unmistakable silhouette of the blackbird flying over. And we had a military base there. And they had told us, no, they're retired. They don't fly anymore. There's the damn thing up in the air flying. We're lied to constantly.
Yeah. And once it's kind of like a motorcycle club, right?
Yeah.
You get kicked out of one, getting into another one is a tough.
It's a tough road to hoe.
It's a tough,
yeah.
man. Well, just imagine getting kicked out of the UFO circle, or the aerospace circle, or the right. That's it. You're done. You're toast. That's it. That's it. So no, you are going to do everything you can, and the opposite is true too.
Yeah.
When you look at something like the Manhattan Project or something like that, I'm saying Manhattan Project because Oppenheimer and the film, finally everybody knows that real story.
Yeah.
And the whole story, it's an incredible story. But it's one thing to leave, or another thing to share. So you won't do that. But the opposite is true too. To get into that circle, it's impossible. It doesn't. First off, it doesn't. The organization, the Manhattan Project, those 200, it didn't exist.
Yeah,
there was no paper trail.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Los Alamos was fictional.
Yep. Area 51 didn't exist.
Area 51. There's a perfect example right there.
Yeah.
And so I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
When people talk about, keeping secrets. And then here's the other thing. Now we blew past the commercial break, so we've got to get to that quickly here. But and this applies to something like the Manhattan Project, if you know the name of somebody that says they have the secrets about ET and UFO and contact and government secrets, they're lying.
Yeah.
They don't know anything. If their name is out in public, if you know their name, if they have a Twitter account, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Now, they may be chasing the questions and looking for answers like we are. Right. But are they the keeper of the secrets? No.
Not at all.
I'll say that. I don't care if you can say, not you, John. Well, you too. But if anybody can say a name to me, then they don't know anything.
Exactly.
And I really mean that. I really mean that. That's how well these secrets are kept.
Oh, absolutely, they are.
Let's take our break right here.
We'll be back. Lots more fun.
We'll be back in 5 minutes after this short break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, John Russell. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, John Russell is with us. I've got 3 of his books right here. His websites are below. His author's website is below. And you can go and order the books and check out his psychic readings and all of that stuff. The links for that are below. And so there you go. And now, John,
Yeah.
you've got a new book out, and it's called The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock. There it is right there.
There it is right there.
All right.
Isn't that a beautiful cover? I love that cover.
You told me about this. You told me about this book for a while, that you were working on it. What's it about?
This continues with more true paranormal experiences. And I look more in this book, I think I try and emphasize that in our lives, we're surrounded by sacred moments constantly. And if we just take the time to relax, disconnect with the noise, the cell phone, the music, the TV, the whatever, if we'll disconnect with that, take time just to sit and observe and connect with nature, connect with the other side, connect with the realm of spirit, that we're surrounded by sacred moments way more often than we realize.
I'm trying to avoid the subject of Harley Davidson motorcycles, but
that's a sacred moment when you're riding, baby.
I had this 2 strange things happen. And you read about them online, but we'll talk about them now.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, I find this spot. It's out by this lake, and I made friends with this tree, and
yes,
and it's just incredible. So anyway, I'm out there. And it's about 25 miles from my house. So it's a great drive out through the mountains, and it's up, and it's great, beautiful lake.
Right.
And so I pull up around the corner, around the mountain, and around the corner, and I see all of these cars parked on the street. Now, the lake in this area that I go to, there's a gate, and you go down the hill, and there's a parking lot there.
Right.
There's never cars on the street, right?
Yeah.
In the mountains. And so I pull up, and it's a couple of sheriffs or highway patrols or something up there with the gate closed.
Yeah.
And I look down the hill. Now, okay, without getting into details, I see what's going on, right? The parking lot is full of police.
Right.
And I said to the cop up there, what's going on? He says, they're looking for a body.
Mm-hmm.
Said, what?
Right.
So I said, can I go down there? And he goes, sure. So I parked my bike next to his car where it's going to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked down the hill, and I walked up, and I started talking to everybody. And then I noticed they have a helicopter, a ginormous, like Sea King thing, right?
Right.
Huge helicopter, search and rescue.
Right.
And so, and I meet the SWAT guys, I meet the scuba divers, and they're telling me, what's going on. I thought, wow, what? It's not really a lake. It's a pond.
Yeah.
Right. It's you can see all the side. You can see it. It's anyway. So 4 days later, I go back. I went back. They had semi trucks, the mobile command center, and it was insane. I go back 4 days later. The gates open. The police are gone. I went, oh, I guess they found them. Okay, I read about it. I read the stories in the news and who the kid was. He was 30 years old, and so I go down, but the family is still there.
Right.
And I thought, why did the police leave if the family is still here underneath this tree? So I pull up to there's two ladies there. I'm guessing the mom and her sister, probably mid-50s, right? Mexican. And they have a cooler, they have their chairs. And so I'm talking and as I'm talking to them, I hear this right in front of me. I'm on my bike. I'm sitting on my bike talking to them. I hear this blood-curdling scream, like from a woman.
Right.
Like the real scream.
Yeah.
And I looked at them and I looked forward. The scream is coming from in front of us. And as the screams are going on, this kid comes running down the hill full speed. Turns out it's his brother. Okay. And he runs by me, jumps in his car, and turns around. And I went, okay, I'm going to follow him. We pull up. It was right in front of me.
Yeah.
So we pull up, and and the girl that was screaming is now in front of me, and she's still screaming. She's standing on the road, and she's looking down the hill, and I look down the hill, and there's the body.
Yeah.
And and so this whole thing, this surreal. Now, okay, so then the police show up, and I took a bunch of pictures, and then I was like, I feel weird about this whole thing. I just can't be here, and I left. Right. Anyway, I deleted all of the pictures off of my phone. I didn't. I looked at them once. I was like, no.
Too creepy.
No. It was, dude. It was insane. Yeah. Anyway, now this lake has a different vibe to me.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
I go back. It's got a different. It's got a different feeling.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't have happened without my Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think that we're so unaware of the things that are in our environment unless you experience it directly like that. There's a place here in Florida that is called Matanzas Inlet. You can look it up, and you can look up the definition of the word Matanzas. And this inlet, Matanzas Inlet, has the last time we were there, been a long time now, but had a wonderful restaurant we used to go to. On one side is the ocean. People are over there kite surfing and fishing and all of these types of things. On the other side is this little inlet, this little bay, and people get in there and what do you call it when you hunt for fish with a spear gun? They do that, and they're picnicking on the shoreline there and all this. Beautiful, right? Gorgeous. Matanzas means slaughter. And on that spot, that very spot where all of this stuff is, all this touristy thing, the restaurant, all this fishing, all this gaiety and happiness, on that very spot, all of these soldiers were killed, murdered, slaughtered on that spot. And that's what Matanzas means, is slaughter. And so we have to realize as we're going through life, there's all these places where all of these things have occurred. And we're mostly unaware. But that's why sometimes somebody may go someplace and go, oh, I got a weird vibe here. I got a weird feeling here. This weirded me out. I need to leave. I need to go or whatever. Is because like in that place, there's the body, there's the murder, here's the slaughter, here's the this, here's the that. And so sometimes that breaks through to our spiritual consciousness, that psychic connection. And we discover, oh, something feels wrong here. Something is bad here. And I think most of us have those kind of psychic shields up most of the time so that we don't connect with that, or that we don't recognize it. And what I've been able to do over the years and my psychic career and my paranormal investigations and everything is to be able to go into those places, into those scenarios, connect with those without it weirding me out, without it being something that I have to get rid of. So that I can go in and I can, like I've had families call me to help them on murder cases and things like that. I had one time the FBI called me to help them with a case psychically and so on and so forth. So I've learned to be able to go into those places, into those conditions, into those harsh, horrific realities and not have it bother me, not have it be something that disturbs my dreams or gives me nightmares or whatever. But again, that's my purview. That's my venue. That's what I've learned to be able to be comfortable with in life. And,
Man, I can tell you, they say never
mhm.
but I will never fish at that lake. I
Yeah,
watch those people
yeah,
fishing.
yeah,
I'm like, do you know
yeah.
what just,
You know what happened here?
yeah. Man.
Exactly right.
So the ability, first off, I live in the desert. And
Mhm, mhm.
so the desert attracts a certain thing. And
Yes.
it's bizarre and it's fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
yeah,
I love it. But I get out on my bike and I'm rolling through miles and miles of road
yes,
without any homes,
yep,
right? Anything, speed limit signs, right?
right,
There's nothing out there.
right.
Right? And it's a
Yep.
very freeing thing.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
but your senses are
Mhm.
raised.
Oh, yeah.
So you see things that you've never seen before that you don't
Yes,
notice in a car. You smell things,
yes,
you feel things, you
yes,
sense things that
yep,
when you're in a car, you're disconnected, you're sheltered,
yep.
and you're just right. And uh, so this is the other thing I wanted to share with you. Oh, really quick. This is last week. I'm 40 miles into the desert.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's a pretty good clip, man. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
40 miles into the desert. And these roads, and you can see them just it's like an album cover. It's like a
yeah.
David Lynch film, right? The road just
Yep.
right it goes in and I see something way off, a couple miles up, but
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
on the right side of the road, and it's like sticking up, and it's square. I thought, wow, that's kind of, is somebody walking? It's kind of weird out here in
Mhm,
the middle of
mhm.
nowhere.
Yeah.
And I pull up and I slowed down. I was doing like 80, 85. And I
Mhm.
slowed down, and it's not a person walking. It's something on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. And I
Yeah.
pull up, and you know what it was? A baby stroller in the middle of the desert. Now, who does that?
I
And so,
know. I know.
I kind of free. I'm thinking, where's the baby?
Where's the
Right?
baby? Where's the
Who
people?
yeah. Who was out here in
Yeah,
Death Valley, right?
yeah.
In the Mojave
Out in the
Desert,
middle of nowhere.
walking your baby, and then you just leave the stroller, or you
Yeah,
threw the stroller out of the car, or did it blow? I don't know, but
I
there it
know.
was.
I know.
And I just
Weird.
drove away, and all
Weird.
these scenarios are passing through
Going
my
through
head.
your head. Yeah,
How
yeah.
does that get there? Oh,
I
so
know.
anyway, trip on this. Talk about spirituality, just a trippy thing. So I get on my bike and I rode up, was heading up. We had a huge fire here a couple of months ago, and
Yeah,
it blew through Wrightwood. It was bad.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was in Alaska when it happened, so I wasn't here, but I was kind of freaking out because it was getting close. But I went up there to Big Pine Highway. It's beautiful, to just check it out, go into the fire line, and maybe take some pictures. So I go all the way up, and the highway patrol had the highway blocked, but I came over the hill and it was the road blocks were down. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I can continue. So I'm riding up into the mountains. Beautiful. They call it Big Pine for a reason. It's insane. It's just beautiful. And so I rode till it started getting a little chilly. It gets a little cold up there. It's in the middle of the day. It's like noon. And I turn around on the top of this mountain, but the fire line is there and all these burnt black trees, they're all twisted and the fire line. I thought, wow, that's some incredible pictures. So I get off my bike and I walk over the hill. I walk over this next hill and I get this view and, I'm on top of the mountain. You can see the valley and snapping these pictures. And I walk over another hill. I'm about a quarter mile from my bike. And I come up over this hill and right in front of me, I posted pictures. You probably saw it. I found a grave. Did you see the picture? Yeah. Did you see the pictures of that?
Yeah.
and in the middle of the desert, man.
Nowhere.
Yeah. And so I go and I look at it and I thought it was like a memorial for somebody that died. But you see that on the next to the road or at an intersection, right? You don't see it, a quarter mile down the hill, yeah. And freaky again, all because of the Harley.
Yep.
And so I just stopped for a moment and I looked at it and then I realized it was a grave. I don't know who was buried there or how old the grave was, but there was a certain vibration. It was strange, man. And that's why you ride your bike. You go out
exactly.
And you encounter what you encounter.
Places and that's like in my very first book, my flagship book, Writing with the Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. And the places I was led to, the experiences I had, it was just over the top. Even with everything I've experienced, it was like, oh my God, I have to write these stories. I have to share these stories because they were so incredible.
Can I ask you about the crying tree? What does that mean?
Yeah.
No, not the book. What was it? A tree that cried? What?
It was a tree that cried. We had moved from our first home here that we had built in Florida, and we had downsized, moved to another city, moved to another home, and there was this southern magnolia in the back, and half of the tree was dead, brittle branches, dead yellow leaves. Half of the tree was alive with viable, pliable, life-filled branches and green leaves. So that in itself was weird looking. But I went outside and looked at the tree, and on the trunk of the tree, about 5-6 feet off the ground, there was this face that was in relief on the trunk. And by a face, I mean there were eyes with pupils, there was a nose with nostrils, and there was a mouth. And the height of the face was between 1 and 2 feet that stood out in relief on the trunk. And below the eyes, there were these tear tracks that came down and stained the tree.
Wait, was it carved or was it grew that way?
Naturally,
wow.
It grew that way.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm looking at this thing and I discern that there is a spirit living in this tree and had manifested this face on the tree. And I began to communicate with the spirit, and I learned that the reason that it had cried and left these visible tear tracks on the trunk was that it had not been taken care of. It hadn't been appreciated. It was diseased. The trunk from the ground up was showing signs of severe rot and all types of, and half the tree was dead. So it was crying because it had this sentience. It had this interaction with the outward world, and it felt like it hadn't been taken care of. It hadn't been rescued. It hadn't been nourished. It hadn't been medicated or whatever. And so that was the sorrow with it. So as I began to watch this tree and interact with this tree, the tree was where it was planted. The face stared straight into my office window. So I would sit and look out my window at the tree. And there were days that the pupils would constrict. There were days that the pupils would dilate. There were days that the mouth would close and like grimace, like it was in pain. There were days that the mouth would smile slightly. Now, all these changes on the trunk and this wood, the solid wood. And every day I would go outside and sit in the yard. I would go out and I would pat the tree. I would love it, talk to it, send it energy, tell it how much I loved it and appreciated it. And one day, and the pupils were basically fixed, staring straight into my office window, except they would dilate, they would contract, so on and so forth. One day I went out and sat in the yard and I had this weird feeling, and I looked over at the tree and the pupils had shifted to look at me where I was sitting in the yard. So that was the crying tree, and it got
still there.
No, we called in an arborist and said, "Can we save this tree? Can anything be done for this tree?" And he said, "No, it's too far gone. It's too ill to do anything to." He said, "As a matter of fact," and it was a large, heavy tree. And he said, "You should cut it down before a storm blows it over on the house." And so I said, "Well, leave the face on the tree." And he looked at the face and I said, "Do you see the face?" And he said, "Yeah, I do." He said, That's pretty freaky. That's pretty unusual." And I said, "Well, leave the face, cut it above the face when you cut it down." And when he wrote that on the service order, he didn't put the face in quotes. He put "leave the face on the tree." I mean, he saw this thing. And so as I was communicating with the tree, it said, don't do that. Just cut it down to the ground. I'm going to leave this body and transfer into some other thing, and I'll continue to communicate with you, but just cut the dead tree down. So I was like, okay. So we cut the tree down, left the trunk there, real close to the ground.
Wow.
And after that, there began to grow from the trunk, almost from the trunk. It was so close to the trunk. Now, we had lived here for, a year or two by that time. And from the area of the trunk where it was cut down, there began to grow these flowers that I had not planted, that had never bloomed or grown there before. All these flowers began to grow around this trunk. So it was like the tree was like, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm communicating with you. I'm giving you these gifts." And it was a marvelous thing. So that's the crying tree.
You know what? I ride a Harley. I love the image, the role, and the person that rides a Harley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know what I look like. I'm not stupid. I look pretty. I look like I could be pretty gnarly if I needed to be, and I can't.
Yes.
I'm not going to hide that. But
yes,
I pull up to that tree, park my bike, take off my fingerless gloves, take off my skull beanie, right?
Yep.
Pull my face mask, and my God, and I walk up to that tree. I just put my hands on him. I'm like, "How you doing, brother?"
Yep.
You know what? I don't care what people. I don't care what people.
That tree knows you, and
I
that
know
tree loves you. Yep.
I know that. That. You know what? And I believe in fairies too.
Oh yeah.
So
I've seen a fairy. I have seen a fairy.
And now it says here that we've got a problem with YouTube. Let's see what's happening. Watch. It'll be because I said something. Watch this. Watch. Let's see. No, it says I'm live.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I got the notification from here. Transmission is buffering.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. Frozen Jimmy. He looks like a serious mofo. It says here on my streaming side, it says that everything is okay. And this is on YouTube, but on my platform itself, it says there are issues. And I'm watching people here. But yeah, normally, if there is some word that is said, YouTube pull it down.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I won't say those words. It's very bizarre.
Censorship.
And yeah. And
Yep.
when they do that, the stream stops on YouTube.
Yeah.
It completely
Yeah.
stops. But this says here, I'm going to click on this. Let me go here. Let me see what we look.
I've been on podcasts in the UK.
No, this is live.
Yeah. I've been
Yeah,
on podcasts in the UK where the hosts have told me we do not have freedom of speech in the UK like you do in the US. Please don't discuss this subject, that subject, or say these words, or I'll be off the air.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's really
Yeah.
funny how that works. And so back to the trees.
Yeah.
So Saturday. So in my front yard, I have this ginormous tree.
Oh, I saw you have that trimmed. Yeah.
Yeah. And the tree, before we cut it, the tree is probably 60 feet tall, maybe 40, 50 feet round. Huge.
Yeah. Big tree.
Yeah. And my house is, it's 2 stories, 2.5 stories. And so, but the tree was dominant, and you could just see like, this could and just like anything else, you got to get a haircut once in a while. You got to trim your beard, John, once in a while. And so I went out to my tree. I scheduled the tree trimming. I went out to the tree. Underneath, I got bird feeders and all of that stuff, hard ass Jimmy Church. Yeah. And so I'm out there and I'm talking to the tree. Now look, man, you got to get a haircut.
Got to get a haircut. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take a shower.
Yeah.
You got to wash that funk off, man.
Yep.
We got to, this has to happen, but you'll be fine. Just like when you were a kid, you never wanted a haircut. No. Well, and so the tree trimmers came out, and I'm glad that they did and trimmed it back. But I felt so bad.
I know.
I did. I had to go out in advance and talk to the tree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And apologize. Say, hey man, sorry, but we got to do this. And when I begin to develop a deeper connection with nature spirits and with trees and things, it was like, oh man, here are these sentient beings. I write about in my next book that's coming out. I write about the fact that scientists now, used to it was we psychics and mediums and shamans and everything that said everything had a soul and a spirit and was sentient and had feelings and everything. And we were poo-pooed and laughed to scorn and called tree huggers and all this. Now, scientists, and in my next book, I put in the links to these scientific websites and these scientific articles. Scientists are saying trees have memories. Scientists are saying that plants are sentient. Scientists are saying that plants communicate and will tell plants in a group of plants, hey, there's a caterpillar chewing on us over here. Start sending your chemicals out to dissuade this. So scientists are telling all of us this stuff now. So we're getting to the scientific proof where all the shamans and the psychics, mediums said we need to be in contact with nature. We need to respect these spirits. We need to respect nature. We need to understand these things. And we were poo-pooed and called idiots and all this. Now scientists are saying those exact same things.
Well, yeah, next to I have 3 trees in the front yard. And so the big one's in the middle. In front of that, I have a smaller tree.
Yeah.
And that was dominated by the big tree. And you could see how the tree, the smaller tree, was not getting sun.
Yeah.
And you can see the shape of it. So I said to the big tree, I go, look, you're stealing sun from the other tree. So share the sun. Yeah, share. And I had this whole conversation with the tree, and I was okay with it. I was okay. If somebody sees me talking to this tree or hears me talking to this tree, I don't care. These trees share roots. They share vitamins. They
Yeah.
share, biologically, they're completely
Yeah.
connected,
Yeah.
and that's it. They know each other. They're best
They do.
friends, man. Right?
They have scientists have shown now that there can be a group of trees growing together and a different species of trees over here, and the group of trees that are growing together underground will share nutrients, will share chemicals, will send messages to each other through their roots and touching and so on and so forth. And if this other group of trees, their roots get too close, they'll send chemicals out underground to repel those other trees' roots and say, hey, our turf, stay away. Don't come over
And
here.
you know what else? You know what else they do? Okay, so this is an example, and I've watched so many documentaries on this. I just
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So tree, big group of trees. Tree number
Mhm.
one up front,
Mhm.
invasive insect
Yeah.
lands on the tree.
Yeah.
They send the signal out.
Yep.
Dudes are here,
Yep.
right? And
Exactly.
they then have their own natural insecticide,
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
to fight off. And it's so impressive.
Yeah.
It
It's
reminds me.
mind-blowing.
You
It's
remember the
mind-blowing.
band Rush? Remember that
Yes.
song "Trees"?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That,
Yes.
that it's not a song.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
true.
It's truth. It's truth.
Yeah, it's
And
absolute truth.
that's what I write about in my books, and I try and get people to understand this connection that we can have with all these sentient beings. And the magic rock, where that enters into the story, is ever since I have been in contact with this other side, there have been either rocks are sentient themselves, which I've come to believe, and or spirits have used rocks to communicate with me, literally verbally or with pictographs or through other methods. And I go into great detail in that in this book, The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock, because of the experiences I've had with rocks. And I've come to realize that, like, there's sky beings, there's, nature spirits, there are rock people, there are sentient, intelligent rocks. And as crazy as that sounds, when you read this book and read about this, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to open you up to a whole other paradigm.
Do you remember the end of the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once? Did you see that? You haven't seen it? It won the Oscar Best Picture.
I don't think I did.
Okay, so it's like 2 years old. Go and watch the movie.
Yeah.
So the movie is about consciousness,
Mhm.
the multiverse, and parallel worlds and time travel. Okay. And so, and I'm not giving anything away. Just go
Yeah.
and check it out. Okay. But the end of the movie, I'm not going to say who, what, when, where, or why, but at the end of the movie, there are two rocks
Mhm. Mhm.
up on the top of this cliff overlooking this canyon
Yeah.
talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, and it's subtitled. You don't hear the conversation, but
Yeah.
they're talking to each other, right?
Right.
And you hear that, and you just have to back up and go, that's probably how it really is.
Yeah.
It's not like
Absolutely.
you have to have an open mind to this,
Yeah.
but suggesting that with a movie like this that is so successful and was watched by millions and millions and millions of people around the world
Yeah.
who are introduced to consciousness and the multiverse and parallel worlds and extra dimensions and these ideas, right?
Yeah.
Well, they probably have never seen anything like this or heard about this before, but they
Right.
see it in a movie. Now the idea is presented to them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
The seeds planted. Yeah. And we have to learn that not only can we learn from and experience the sentience of nature, we have to learn that the animal kingdom in nature also has a sentience and a communication and a great ability to communicate with us and to teach us things, to teach us lessons. And in The Crying Tree and the Magic Rock, one of my favorite stories in there is the snake that saved us. And I'll tell everybody about that. And it won't run the book. You can read it in there, but there's so many other things. But When I grew up in West Texas, and you're taught to fear snakes, and you're taught that every snake is a bad snake. You see a snake, you kill it. So that was the way I grew up. So I'm like you. I've been a biker from an early age, and we were teenagers, and I had my best friend on the entire planet. We would hop on my bike. He would ride, passenger, and I won't say the B word that we normally associate with that, but he would ride passenger with me. We'd hop on my bike. We'd go cruising around town looking for action, cruising up and down the main drag there. And so one day we were out riding and getting close to dusk. And there was a big park there that I love to frequent. And we were going by there. And there was this tall, skinny guy out there in the park. And he had this like 10, 12, 14-foot long snake crawling in the grass right in front of me. And I was like, good God Almighty. And I hit the throttle to the stops and I'm out of there. And my buddy goes, no, go back. I know this guy. Are you kidding me? You said the size of that snake. I'm not going back there. He goes, go back. I know this guy. He's my friend. I was like, okay, whatever. So we go back and we park on the side street there to the park. And my buddy gets off and goes over there, starts talking to his friend. And I'm sitting with the bike. And he's like, John, come meet my friend. I'm like, there's this big demonic malevolent snake. Are you kidding me? This thing's the size of an elephant. I'm not going over there. He's like, John, don't be rude. Come meet my friend. Oh, God. So I walk over there and I talk to the guy. Now, this guy, he's like 6 foot and maybe 140, 50 pounds soaking wet. I'm 6 foot, maybe 140, 50 pounds soaking wet. My best friend is literally built like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's like 5'5", 5'6", right? So little short guy. This enters into the story. So we're sitting there, and I'm looking at this snake. His head is way, way, way bigger than my hand, and this guy's telling me the story of his psychic connection, his soul connection with this snake. I'm like, you're crazy. Snakes don't know nothing. They don't feel it. They just crawl around trying to bite people, right? So he tells me he's had the snake since it was a foot or two long, since it was a baby. And now it's grown into this 12-foot monster. And I'm like, what does it eat? And he's like, well, rabbits, big rats. And I'm like, yeah, people, small children, And he tells me that the snake has such strength that if he puts it up into a tree or climbs up into a tree and it goes between two branches, he can reach up and grab a hold of it. And if it flexes, it'll lift him off the ground. That's how strong this snake is. So I'm freaking out over this. But he goes beyond that and he starts telling me of all these experiences with his connection, his soul connection with this snake, to the point that he's telling me that there are restaurants and bars that will let him bring the snake in as long as it's in the sack. He has a big knapsack that he carries his snake in. And some places will let him take the snake out, put it on the table while he eats or drinks or whatever. And I'm like, this just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So he said that he was in this bar one time. Now, this is back in the days of the cowboys and the hippies, the long hairs versus and there's all this enmity, and the cowboys are constantly getting in fights with the hippies and all this. We all had long hair. He had long hair. So he said he went in this one bar and this restaurant, whatever it was. And this guy comes over, this cowboy guy comes over, and he's launching off on our friend here, not because he has a snake, but because he's a long hair. So he's giving him all this hassle, and he spits on my friend. This guy spits on my friend. And he said the snake recognizes that this guy has attacked his beloved owner, has spit on him. And so the snake strikes and bites this guy in the face and draws blood. And I'm like, now you're telling me that not only is this snake sentient, that he has this bond with you to the point that he knows when someone's attacked you and he's defending you. I said, this gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So he tells me, he said, John, he said, go over and touch the snake I'm like, yeah, you and your mama are all crazy.
No.
Not happening.
Did
And
you
I
do
said,
it?
yeah. He said, John, go over to go down by his tail and just touch him, just feel him. All right. Well, that's 12 feet away, so I've got a chance to run if something happens. So I go down, I touch his tail, and he raises his head up and he turns around and looks at me. And I jump and run. He's fixing to attack me. He's fixing to get me. And he's like, no. He just realizes that there's a touch from a human being that he's unfamiliar with, that he does not know, and he wanted to see who it was. I'm like, now you're telling me the snake's sentient, that he's aware of his surroundings, he's aware of the people he knows, he's aware of strangers. I said, this gets crazier and crazier. So I jump and run, and he tells me, he said, John, go back, touch the snake. He's not going to bite you. He's not going to attack you. He's not going to hurt you. Just go grab him, feel him, get a hold of him. So I said, okay. So I go back down by the tail end again, and I grab him with both hands, which is difficult because he's so thick, he's so huge. And I put my hands around him, and it's like, oh my God. And I get this energy, and it's like this massive, incredible, muscular beast, and the feel of
So
him.
did you and the snake make friends?
We made friends. Wait,
Oh, man.
it gets better. Wait. So we're sitting there, and it's getting toward dusk, and they said, let's go get something to eat. And I said, where are we going to go get something to eat? He said, there was a restaurant a couple of blocks up the street that we all went to all the time, and we all knew the owner. And the guy said, the owner knows me, and as long as I bring the snake in the sack, he's okay with that, no problem. I'm like, okay, more and more strange this gets. So he walks up the street. Me and my buddy get on the bike, go up and park in the parking lot. We all go inside. So my best friend and this guy sit together on one side of the booth. Me and the snake sit together on the other side of the booth. He gives me the snake. I'm like, thank you so much. So I'm sitting here next to this monster snake. And in the booth behind us, there's 4 guys sitting there. And the baby of the group is 6 foot, 6'2", 200 pounds, pure muscle. And he's the baby of the group. It goes up in size and muscularity from there. All these guys are short hair. We're long hair. They sit there and look at us, and they start going, oh boy, we're going to have fun with these guys. We're going to take them out in the parking lot, and they're going to be our tune-up for the bars we're going to later. I'm like, oh, geez, Pete. Now, me and my best friend, we're like super into the martial arts. I mean, like heavy into the martial arts, several martial arts, and we're good. We're skilled. But these guys are monsters, and they're thick, and they're muscular, and they're hard. And we're like, okay, the martial arts only goes so far against these guys, regardless of what you're taught. And so we're sitting there going, how the hell are we going to get out of this? So they're going on and on, just really starting to rag on us now. And the guy that owns the snake says, hey, John, he said, check on the snake, make sure he's all right. I said, what do you mean? He said, take the snake out, make sure he's okay. I said, like, well, why wouldn't he be okay? He's like, John, take the snake out. I'm like, oh, Jesus God. So I open up the sack and I look in there, and here's Mr. Gigantic Snake. And I'm like, oh my God. So I take a deep breath and I reach in there and grab him, start pulling him out, and he helps me. He starts crawling out of the bag. And now I've got like 4 or 5 feet of this gigantic thick snake with this monstrous head out here. And one of the guys in the booth sees him, and he goes, Jesus Christ, his eyes are this big. He jumps the counter into the kitchen area, runs out of the restaurant. The other guys turn around to see what he's jumped and run for. They see the snake. They jump up. They run out of the restaurant. And the one guy that's left is sitting there laughing, and he calls for the check. He gets the check, and he's laughing. He goes, well played, gentlemen. Well played. So he leaves. And I told the guy, I said, this snake has saved us from a beatdown.
Well,
I said, I will buy this snake a steak right now.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing, and we're out of time. But so I'll just say this.
Yeah.
If I had a baby crocodile, right, this big, right, just hatched, right, and I raised that thing from a baby, and show it love and do this. I'm not so sure that we ever become friends. I don't think, no. I just don't see that cuddling up in bed with you. Right. You follow.
Now the thing is, there are, and since then I went on to have snakes as pets, and I've learned that there are snakes with wildly different personalities. So there are snakes that will love you and defend you to the death. There are snakes that will bite you while you're trying to feed them. So it's kind of like in the human realm, and you kind of have to adapt to that and use your common sense and reason with that. But with this snake was absolutely, he was on our side, man. He was going to take care of us. It was a wild thing.
When I was a kid, I was like 25.
Yeah.
And this band that I worked with, really close friends with, they signed their record deal.
Yeah.
They signed a big record deal.
Yeah.
Right. They get some cash. And so the record company, they take the cash and they get a band house. Pretty nice place, man. Right.
Right.
And one day we're all sitting in the living room, and the lead singer comes in. He's got a big box, and he took some of his money, his advance money, and he goes and he buys a snake.
Yeah.
A boa constrictor.
Right.
A big one.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and it happened this fast, John. He brings in the box, he puts it in the middle of the living room floor, and there's like 6 or 8 of us sitting around, right? And we go up, he opens up the box, and we look in. It's just like you're saying, right? It's like that big around. It's huge. I don't know. It's like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, 15 foot. It was a big snake in this box.
Yeah.
And we're all looking at it. And he reaches in to pick up the snake, and the snake bites him right here on his hand.
Yeah.
A chunk. Yeah. And he pulls it up and then lifts the snake out, and the snake, all right. And we all jump back. The snake lets him go. We scatter. We freak.
Yeah.
Snake hits the living room floor. We run and never found the snake.
Oh wow.
In the living room. That thing slithered. I don't know. It got out. I just get fat under the hide. We don't know. We looked for that snake all weekend. Never found it. Underneath the house, flashlight. Dude, that night, I spent the night that night. All of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of us. All of us. Never found that snake. So it was like 2 years later. I'm back here in LA. That was in Memphis. I'm back here in LA. That band is on tour, right? And so I call him up. Hey man, yeah, I'll see you at the show. And so we're at the I think it was either before the show or after the show. We're all sitting around. Might have even gone up to my house. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we're all sitting around. I go, dudes, did you ever find that snake? Nope. No, never found that snake. He had that snake. I don't know what he paid for it. I don't know, $1,000 or whatever. He had that snake for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was that's how long that snake. It was just hilarious, man.
Yep.
It was the craziest. I don't mess with snakes. I don't mess with reptiles, lizards.
But you got to realize that everything in the animal kingdom has its own personality, just like people do. You know, there are people that are just rude to you. They're hostile toward you or whatever for no reason. Same thing in the animal world. And there's things in that. Look, there's dogs that'll bite you for no reason. And dogs
true.
True. You know, so but you got to find that, you got to discern that, you know, that interaction.
That's true. But even a dog that'll bite you still knows its name and knows 200 words. I don't think you can go out into a swamp in Florida and go, Bob, you know, and yell for the alligator, and he's going to come up.
I went to one of the state parks here with my wife, and in the state park, there's all kinds of wild things, and of course, snakes in the water and all this all the time. And I went to the water's edge, and I told my wife, I said, want to see me call these snakes over? She's like, they ain't no way. I said, watch. And I went over to the water's edge, and I saw these snakes swimming over there, and I was like, I did my thing, and they swam right up to me, right up to the bank.
No, come on, John.
Yes, and let me touch them. Yes.
Have you seen? We've got to run. We're off the network now. That's fine. Have you seen the new TV show? It's on Max called "It's Florida, Man."
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You sound like an episode from that.
I do,
John.
don't I?
John, you're the very best, man. Thank you so much, and
I appreciate it. Love you, brother.
Love you back. I've got all your links below, and so everybody can go pick up all of John's books and reach out to him. And there's plenty of ways to contact John. So we've got that there.
Go to johnrussell.net, johnrussellauthor.com.
Thank you so much, John. Behave and be well and be safe out there in Florida.
We'll do that, and you be safe on your trip, brother.
Thank you so much, John. I'll talk to you when I get back.
Yes. Bye-bye.
The absolute very best. That is John Russell. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody tomorrow night, right here on Fade to Black, it is our AMA/AJA. Ask Jimmy Anything. It'll be our last show until December 2nd when I get back from Peru and Bolivia with Brian Forrester. So I'll see everybody tomorrow night for the AMA. I'm also going to be hanging out with you tomorrow on the news. All right. So behave and be well. I'll see you tomorrow night. Go back, Lee Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.